Hello, this is Fifi, and as an adjunct to my post on my blog about the Dr. Thorne mini series, I thought I would read just a little excerpt from the Trollope novel that it was based on, just to give you an idea of the writing style of Anthony Trollope. And I'm going to read from the first chapter, The Greshams of Greshamsbury, and let's see how it goes. In the first 12 years of their marriage, children came fast into the nursery at Greshamsbury. The first that was born was a boy, and in those happy halcyon days, when the old squire was still alive, great was the joy at the birth of an heir to Greshamsbury. Bonfires gleamed through the countryside, oxen were roasted whole, and the customary paraphernalia of joy, usual to rich Britons on such occasions, were gone through with wondrous éclat. But when the 10th baby, the 9th girl, was brought into the world, the outward show of joy was not so great. Then other troubles came on. Some of these little girls were sickly, some very sickly. Lady Arabella had her faults, and they were such as were extremely detrimental to her husband's happiness and her own. But that of being an indifferent mother was not among them. She had worried her husband daily for years because he was not in Parliament. She had worried him because he would not furnish the house in Portman Square. She had worried him because he objected to have more people every winter at Greshamsbury Park than the house would hold. But now she changed her tune, and worried him because Selina coughed, because Helena was hectic, because poor Sophie's spine was weak, and Matilda's appetite was gone. Worrying from such causes was pardonable, it will be said. So it was. But the manner was hardly pardonable. Selina's cough was certainly not fairly attributable to the old-fashioned furniture in Portman Square, nor would Sophie's spine have been materially benefited by her father having a seat in Parliament. And yet, to have heard Lady Arabella discussing those matters in family conclave, one would have thought that she would have expected such results. As it was, her poor, weak darlings were carried about from London to Brighton, from Brighton to some German baths, from the German baths back to Torquay, and thence, as regarded the 4 we have named, to that bourne from whence no further journey could be made under the Lady Arabella's directions. The one son and heir to Greshamsbury was named as his father, Francis Newbold Gresham. He would have been the hero of our tale had not that place been preoccupied by the village doctor. As it is, those who please may so regard him. It is he who is to be our favorite young man, to do the love scenes, to have his trials and his difficulties, and to win through them or not, as the case may be. I am too old now to be a hard-hearted author, and so it is probable that he may not die of a broken heart. Those who don't approve of a middle-aged country doctor as a hero may take the heir to Greshamsbury in his stead, and call the book, if it so please them, The Loves and Adventures of Francis Newbold Gresham the Younger. And Master Frank Gresham was not ill-adapted for playing the part of a hero of this sort. He did not share his sister's ill health, and though the only boy of the family, he excelled all his sisters in his personal appearance. The Greshams from time immemorial had been handsome. They were broad-browed, blue-eyed, fair-haired, born with dimples in their chins, and that pleasant, aristocratic, dangerous curl of the upper lip, which can equally express good humor or scorn. Young Frank was every inch a Gresham, and was the darling of his father's heart. The de Courcys had never been plain. There was too much hauteur, too much pride, we may perhaps even fairly say too much nobility in their gait and manners, and even in their faces, to allow of their being considered plain. But they were not a race nurtured by Venus or Apollo. They were tall and thin, with high cheekbones, high foreheads, and large, dignified, cold eyes. The De Courcy girls all had good hair, and as they also possessed easy manners and powers of talking, they managed to pass in the world for beauties till they were absorbed in the matrimonial market, and the world at large no longer cared whether they were beauties or not. The Misses Gresham were made in the De Courcy mold, and were not on this account the less dear to their mother. The two eldest, Augusta and Beatrice, lived, and were apparently likely to live. The four next faded and died, one after another, all in the same sad year, and were laid in the neat new cemetery at Torquay. Then came a pair born at one birth, weak, delicate, frail little flowers, with dark hair and dark eyes, and thin, long, pale faces, with long, bony hands and long, bony feet, whom men looked on as fated to follow their sisters with quick steps. Hitherto, however, they had not followed them, nor had they suffered as their sisters had suffered, and some people at Greshamsbury attributed this to the fact that a change had been made in the family medical practitioner. Then came the youngest of the flock, she whose birth, we have said, was not heralded with loud joy, for when she came into the world, four others, with pale temples, wan, worn cheeks, and skeleton white arms, were awaiting permission to leave it. Such was the family when, in the year 1854, the eldest son came of age. And that's the end of my reading.